Yeah. No, I just took a shower. It's falling out. I'd like to open the planning board meeting for,
Excuse us.
excuse me,
Hello?
I'd like to open the planning board meeting for April 13th. Members present to my right, John Cronin, Bob Reed, acting town planner Dave Fischette, Michael Fitzgerald, Alan Slavin, and our town engineer Charlie Rowley.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, Bay Point, the clients have decided, because Mr. Barrett is tied up with the meeting today with the Fire and Water District,
Yep.
they would prefer to have all 5 members here. So they've asked to open the hearing and then continue until next
Okay,
meeting.
we'll open it a little later on in the meeting. Hopefully,
Just let you know.
Mr. Barrett will show up by then.
We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Because if not, we don't meet again till May.
Well, we'll just give him a denial. That'll solve everything, right?
Don't start now.
Approve, okay, first order of business, approval of minutes for June 23rd.
Yeah.
2 seats, 3 seats. If those people standing on the seats here,
There's a few seats in the front.
Neither was I.
you really shouldn't be standing.
I shall be abstaining. I don't see them in here anyway.
That was interesting. That was interesting.
Okay, that's on clerk's right to sign it. A motion on the minutes for June 23rd.
I believe that the people over here weren't at either meeting, so I'm not sure that we have enough votes. to approve the minutes.
We'll have to pass on that one. How about July 7th?
Same thing.
Same thing.
Although Charlie's in the audience, he could probably give them.
Just a minute. How many people here? Yeah, we don't have to have 3 here, do we?
All we need is 3.
Well, you don't even need 3.
Neither one of you guys can vote on.
Wasn't here.
I wasn't here either.
Put that aside.
It doesn't matter. It'd be 2-0 and 2 abstain. You don't have to have 3.
Need a motion.
Mikey can make the motion, you can second it by necessity.
Sure. Let's do it.
202 is
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept the minutes of June 23rd, 2014, as written.
Second.
Um,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Two
Abstain.
opposed. Two. July 7th.
God, are you- Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to accept the minutes of July 7th, 2014.
Could I ask the audience to be quiet,
Second.
please? The noise comes up here and it's hard to hear. Thank you.
All in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
Two abstain. Those are done. Preliminary business, we have a representative appointment for the Serpent Committee. So we appoint George since he's not here.
George was the member before, so.
Okay, you entertain a motion to appoint George for the Serpent representative.
Second.
Motion been made in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Votes 4-0. That was easy. Might as well sign those, Mike, since George isn't here, since you're correct.
Okay.
Next order of business is Article 21 for the Springtown meeting. It's street layout acceptance for Bishop Way. Anybody here to speak in favor of that article?
Good evening. My name is Diane Murphy, and I'm one of the 3 trustees of Beaver Meadows Homeowners Association. As you may know, the trustees of the Beaver Meadows Homeowners Association have been seeking town acceptance for Lynn Road and Bishop Way for about 1.5 years now. Last fall, Charles Rowley came out to inspect our streets, and I have copies of his report for you. Some of you may already have received it in past meetings, but
Thank you, Dave.
Do you want me to pass them out?
thank you. I'll start down the other end.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna give these back to you. I have extras.
Thank you. Anyone have-
Mm-hmm.
As you may know, our layout plan, item 5 in the deficiencies list, was completed. The layout plan was prepared by J.C. Engineering, and the streets have been properly bounded, and there are monuments in place. Charles Rowley did come out, and he had verified that everything was in place and meets and bounds. This winter has been a winter like no other year that I can remember, and I'm quite up there in age. And if it was like any other year, we would have had all these deficiencies completed. Unfortunately, our sidewalks, like most sidewalks in town, have been under 5 feet of snow until just a little while ago. We have solicited quotes from 2 pavers, and we selected Bill Andre to do the work for us. And I've just given you the proposal that Bill gave us. And he is going to address items 1, 2, 4, and 5 on the deficiencies list. The trustees have all signed on to the contract. Bill met with us today and indicated that he would be able to take care of all of those items by the middle of next week. And we expect to have the other items on the list completed in that same time frame. Charles Rowley has stated to us that he will come out and do a final inspection whenever we call on him to do that. We're asking George Barrett, the chairman of the planning committee, to call an emergency meeting before the town meeting or no later than 6 o'clock the morning of April 27th. I have a letter here, and I'll pass those out.
I believe that's 6 o'clock at night, just prior to.
prior.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, misspoke. And the letter is requesting that take place. I'll pass that out for you to see as well. So that is what our request is at this point, is that we are able to get all of the work done prior to the town meeting and have Charles Rowley sign off that that has all been completed. And we are asking for an emergency meeting in case that takes a few more weeks to get completely done. So that's basically it. We're looking for your approval for that to happen. Are there any questions?
Any questions from anybody? Go ahead, John.
Mr. Chairman, ma'am, number 3 on the list, who's taking care of that piece of curb?
What did I do? Number 3, the short section of cubing in the cul-de-sac, is that what you're talking about?
Curbing, yeah.
Curbing. The homeowners are taking care of that. It's just slight depression of the curbing. We're going to be lifting that out and putting soil behind it and making certain that all the curbing is even.
Okay.
Any other concerns?
And
Charlie,
number
what's
eight-
that precast?
Number 8 on your list.
That's on Bill Andrade's quote.
The binder mix, that will be addressed by Bill Andrade. He's going to remove asphalt and install loam seed. And there's three homes that have that little triangle where there's a depression between the sidewalk and their driveway. And so that will be filled in by Mr. Andrade's, his group.
What was the final outcome with the signage, Mr. Rowley, do you know? Number 7? I know it's been
Number
discussed
7?
before, but something to do with signage.
I haven't seen the area lately, so I can't tell you whether or not that's been removed or not. There were several signs in the area that weren't standard traffic movement signs. And David Bernard was concerned that any of the signs that were within the proposed layout of the street that were not normal traffic-related signs should be removed. So I don't know whether that's been done yet.
Our streets are very narrow, and we do have covenants with our homeowners association, which are legal documents filed at the Registry of Deeds in Plymouth. And it's my understanding that there is a law in the town of Wareham that our streets are very narrow, that there's no parking overnight. Am I correct in that? And that's one of the issues, one of our covenants, is that there's no parking overnight. And we posted that. We have signs that say children to make sure people adhere to the 15-mile-per-hour speed limit. And under that, we did place signs saying no overnight parking and violators will be towed. Our concern was with the tight cul-de-sacs, that if there's a emergency vehicle that needs to come down the road, or rubbish removal trucks coming, or they don't come at night, but that if there is an emergency vehicle needed, that they might not be able to get down the road if there's parking in the street. So all of our homeowners do park in their driveways. So it would only be visitors to the neighborhood that would be parking in the streets.
Mike, to further answer your question, I have no problem, and I don't think David would with the signs themselves if they were simply set back beyond the layout line, that's all, so that they're not within the layout of the street. These folks are asking the town to take it over as a public way. So any private signs or anything, or even if it's homeowner signs, should be outside the limits of the layout. So if they move back a foot beyond that, so it's on their own property, I don't think either one of us would have an objection to that, and they can keep the signs.
Okay. Is that something that could be done before the 27th?
Absolutely, yeah, we can put those up in a day very quickly. Yeah,
Okay.
we can move them.
All right, so they'll be moved.
They will be moved, yes.
Is Mr. Andre going to take care of item number 6 also on that list?
Number for 6.
Because I know earlier you said 1, 2.
The drainage swales are the responsibility of the homeowners. We keep them clean. I noticed with all that snow we had, water was still running through the swales and into the drainage ditches. And there has not been puddling in the streets, even with all the melting and all that's happened. So we will continue to keep those clean.
Okay.
That was a part of the conditions of approval, Michael. And they continue to do that. It's a part of the homeowners association, as Ms. Murphy has said.
Good.
So that's their responsibility, even if the town were to accept the streets.
Okay. So I guess our next order is entertain a motion for a special meeting. Set a date for a special meeting prior to town meeting. Do I hear a motion on that?
6 o'clock?
Yeah.
I just read the letter.
That would be subject to Mr. Rowley's
It's inspection.
Yeah, I'll need
Inspection.
to get you a letter before that, whatever date
inspection
you
and
set,
approval.
and
Right.
look at the work to make sure it's done.
So you want a motion, Mr. Chairman, for a special meeting, emergency meeting before town meeting at 6 PM on the 27th
Yes,
of April?
that's right.
So move.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion?
I just would want to add that Mr. Rowley's letter of approval or recommendation be presented to the board before we meet.
Oh, yeah, all right, so the approval letter, Mr. Rowley has to have that inspection prior to that.
We
So
certainly,
Mr. Andrade will need to be done.
yes.
John Churchill will need to make sure those bounds are put in accordingly. You'll need to fix the curb, and you'll need to clean out the swales.
We understand that totally. The Mr. Rowley's already identified that the bounds are in place,
Oh, he has?
and he signed off on that,
Okay,
yes.
sorry.
Yeah. So we fully understand that Mr. Rowley does need to get a letter prior to the meeting.
Okay, good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Votes 401. Okay, Mrs. Murphy, we'll see you on the 27th.
Wonderful. Thank you very much,
Okay,
gentlemen.
now, the
Thank
6
you.
o'clock, the special meeting will be in the cafeteria. of
Cafeteria,
the
or the
high
library.
school- Or the library
Yeah.
of the high school.
Of the school.
Thank you.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. There were a lot of people here for the Bay Point presentation tonight.
Yep.
We've heard from the proponent and others that it's going to be continued, is that correct? If it is, we don't want to, if it is, we want to go home.
Well-
And if it isn't, we want to stay.
We was gonna continue our business to see if Mr. Barrett shows up, and make a decision a little later on, because it's kind
Well,
of
the-
premature
the
to make that decision.
proponent is left.
They did.
Yes.
Mr. Cirque's
Mr. Cirque's
representative,
their representative, so.
but
Well,
I'm sure
what
he's
do you
here
want?
just,
I think a lot of people would like to know, 3/4 of the people who were here for the hearing have left because Mr. Timothy Fay, who is the principal in,
Well, let me ask Mr. Cirque, could you, help us out on this one?
Maybe it'd be wise, Mr. Chairman, if you just read the notice, and then I could respond to your question.
We're not quite at that point in the agenda to open the hearing, so
Okay,
that's-
because I only asked that because I'm gonna request.
Is there a
that the
hearing
be
time?
continued.
Right.
because
Is
of the
there a
absence
time for the
of Mr.
hearing?
Barrett. So I thought that for that purpose, the hearing notice ought to be read in, and then I would ask that it be continued.
I agree, it should be opened and then ultimately continued, Mr. Chair, at your discretion with the agenda.
Mr. Chair, the hearing does not have a time, so you can take it out of order if you like, so you can get this resolved. If you had a time frame, then you'd have to follow
Okay,
it.
we'll, let's open the public hearing for, Article 14, no, Article 14 is manufacturers' homes. Want to do that one first?
No. Why don't you get this done?
Do we have, okay, go ahead. After that, we're gonna do the green cards.
Those are being confirmed, and that's all part of the extension, the keeping the public hearing moving.
Okay.
Open up a public hearing, the application of Bay Point Club LLC, 501 Wampanoag Trail, Suite 400, Riverside, Rhode Island, 02915, for a special permit for site plan review and approval of definitive subdivision plan entitled the Bay Point Club Mixed Use Development Project on 19 Bay Point Drive, also known as Assessors Map 2, Lot 1004A in Wareham, Mass. Said plan proposing 94 dwelling units on 62 proposed lots on 141.6 acres in the CR zoning district.
Mr. Chairman, there are three forms of relief that Bay Point will be seeking from the planning board. One is the approval of a definitive subdivision plan. The second is site plan approval. And the third is a special permit, all of which have been applied for. The special permit is the one of the three that requires a supermajority vote, in other words, 4 out of 5. And in the absence of Mr. Barrett, and it would be the same if it were the absence of any of the members of the board, the preference of the petitioner is to continue the matter until such time as we can have a full board, so that we don't appear before a body in which we need every vote. Let me just explain as well, while I have the microphone, that there was a meeting on April 9 with the neighbors, at which there was an extensive presentation made as a courtesy and out of respect to the neighbors. We notified everyone who got notice of this public hearing. We also received Mr. Rowley's letter of April 9, and today, this morning, we met with Mr. Rowley. Our engineer met with Mr. Rowley, and our project manager met with him, and he was gracious to give us 2.5 hours of his time, and we went through all of the matters set forth in his letter, and we intend to address every one of them. So we've used the time within the run-up to this public hearing, even though it's not going to go forward tonight. We've used the time well in order to get input from your consultant as well as from the neighbors. But having said all of that, we're going to request that the matter be continued just so that we can have a full board. And so I'm at your disposal as to when the next date is that you could hear us.
You had a approval of the plan, a site plan approval, and what was the other one?
Special permit.
You just need to set a date, Michael. That's all.
Want to need a motion for a, continue this public hearing? Entertain a motion?
Continue it into when, into May?
We do have a time period, yes.
Well, are we available on May 11th?
I believe I wrote down the date when the first.
Do you have anything in the calendar?
It's open.
Mr. Bichette, do you know, is there anything in the calendar for May 11th? Can we continue this till then?
I can't make it on May 11.
Skip the 11th, Dave.
The 25th is a holiday.
Sure is, my birthday.
There are no other dates in April?
No,
Well, no, because the town
Town
meeting
meetings.
falls on that particular date, so. Yeah, it's the 11th, or I guess the planning board's not gonna meet on the 25th, so.
in June.
We have a deadline on,
Oh, I'll give you a waiver of time requirements.
on the site plan and on all of these.
Need it on both the site plan, the special permit, and the definitive.
All
Yeah.
three.
Yeah.
The next available date is, now we're into June 15th, or the 29th, right now, that's
Well,
open. both days?
I hate to make my clients wait just because I'm gonna be away. Let's take the 11th, and I'll ask my partner to cover it for me, and that way they won't have to wait because of my absence. I'm gonna be out of town that day.
You have history when we finish a town meeting, because you're losing a meeting, and there's also losing a meeting in May, where you can meet on the first or the third Monday of the month as well. We've done this before over the years,
The first Monday will be the 4th.
or you can meet on the next week on the 20th if you want.
Yeah, well, the next scheduled meeting is May 11th. If his partner's gonna come, then we just leave it our regular meetings alone.
I'm just saying, our next scheduled meeting is really the 27th for this town meeting.
Correct.
So
But-
therefore,
but
it's
after-
not unusual for us to actually schedule a meeting a week before town meeting a lot of times if we have a heavy schedule.
It's a holiday.
20th?
Yep.
Okay. So the 4th would be the next one, if you want, but that's up to you.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor for the 11th.
Yeah, per the applicant's request, I make a motion, we extend this until May 11th.
Do I hear a second?
Continue, we
Continue
continue
the
this
public
until
hearing.
May 11th.
I'd like to know what we're doing with the time periods on this.
What I will do is, I will send an email to Mr. Pichette waiving the time requirements under the zoning bylaw and under the subdivision control law to the extent necessary in order to allow the hearings to occur on May 11th. And I'll specify the date through which the extension of the waiver is effective.
Could you also follow that up with a signed letter from yourself and the applicant, so we have a signed document?
I'll do that as well. I'll email to you a letter signed by myself, and it will waive the time requirements, so.
And we'll be assuming that the time periods on these will run from May 11th?
Well, it depends. The time period is different under the subdivision control law than it is under the zoning act. But I will provide that to Mr. Bichette and make sure that I'm not gonna ask for anybody to say that you constructively approve this, because
Well, I just want to make sure that we have enough time.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I don't
I
know
wanna
how much time we're going to have for the May
That's
11th,
correct.
because you haven't told us how much time we have to make a decision there.
that's right. And under the zoning act, the time requirements begin from the date on which the public hearing is
That's the game.
actually, it's from the date on which the public hearing is closed. As long as you start the public hearing within the time requirements, you can continue the hearings. But I will, under the subdivision control law, it's different, but I will, suppose I do this, Mr. Perry, I'll send a letter over my signature to Mr. Pichette stating that the time requirements are extended for filing through the end of May. And then if more time is needed, we'll do that as well, because we don't know how many sessions of the public hearing will be needed.
Yeah, but then we have to.
Write the decision and come up
Yeah,
with.
I mean, we're
No,
going to have to
it's
talk
not
about it.
unusual, it's not unusual to continue it beyond the deadline. If you need to get a second letter requesting an extension, you just do it. I mean, that's the way the process works, so there shouldn't be an issue. You can take it to the 11th, you'll see how far you are at that time. And if with Mr. Cirque's letters, the deadline for the subdivision is, say, the 24th of May, you're not gonna be meeting, continue it for another 2 months if you want to. You can
I
do
don't
that.
have any problem, Mr. Perry, in giving you a letter waiving the requirements
That's
under the
26
zoning act and under the subdivision control law indefinitely, without a termination, because I,
Mr. Cirque, that's attorney. It's not Mr. Perry, it's,
Attorney Reed.
Close.
Reed.
I'm sorry.
I don't want you guys getting in a feud before we even get started.
Sorry for the
That's all right.
confusion.
Perry's good, too. Okay.
That's close
But
enough.
what I will do is I'll send you a letter waiving the requirements under both statutes indefinitely.
Okay.
All right? So there's no end date, because I know we're working in good faith.
Is there a third? Mr. Rowley, wasn't there 3 things you said he had? What was it?
Mr. Cirque mentioned site plan review.
Special permit.
he mentioned the special permit, which is under the conference recreational zoning requirements, and then there's the subdivision itself, the definitive plan, which is under your rules and regulations. The site plan is under the zoning, and the special permit portion of it is also. The only thing I'd suggest on that continuance, though, that you will need a date certain for the hearing,
Yes.
and also a time, so you might want to specify the time.
I got a motion, I need a second here.
I'll second.
Can I get a second for 7 o'clock,
On May 11th.
the 11th?
So you're the first batter.
Okay. And Mr. Rowley is exactly right. You're wearing the zoning bylaw hat for the site plan approval and the special permit, and you're wearing the subdivision control law hat for the definitive subdivision.
Okay. Okay, so 7 o'clock, May 11th, Bay Point, public hearing will be continued. Will the, excuse me, in the back, will you share that with the other neighbors? The 11th at 7 o'clock?
Yes.
Because it won't be re-advertised in the
Right.
paper.
I think there's enough to get the message through.
Okay, thank you.
Very much.
I think you need to vote on that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 4-0.
Well, it was a nice wedding, even though no one got married.
It cost me
But I think it's closest time.
That took a big load off our agenda. Next on the agenda is Article 14, manufactured homes. I've seen that paper too. Article 14, see if the town of Wareham will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the general court to erect a litigation okay, for the following, provide for a general court may be responsible for the substance. General sector petition. What the hell? What's this, Alan? This is to make, see if they would give us a portion of manufacturing homes?
Would you like me to explain
Yeah, please.
from board? Basically, we've tried through our House and Senate to pass a bill for manufactured homes to be considered affordable housing. It's been defeated every year for the last 14, 15 years. We have approximately 1,100 homes here in Wareham. Carver has a little over 900. Basically, what we're going through is a home rule petition article. There was a gentleman who used to work for DCHD, who actually is a relative of Mrs. Whiteside, and he explained that this is a process that you can use. It is perfectly okay to do it this way, and since we've had no luck with our representatives getting it done, we're going to do it on our own and see if we can get it done. This article will go to town meeting. It should pass with no problem. I can't see any reason not to pass, and then we'll go to the House and Senate, and we'll lobby as best we can and see if we can get this pushed through as a home rule petition, which will increase our affordable units by 1,100 units, which should also make our region also comply with the affordable housing units for the region as well, just in case they say the region doesn't have enough. Region could be 4 or 5 towns around you. They could consider that a region if there's not enough affordable units. But if we're able to get this done, then Carver will be right behind us doing the same thing. And that will put over 2,000 affordable units in the mix.
So this would count all of the mobile homes,
All
or manufactured homes?
rounded off, 1,100 units will be added to our affordable housing list. Right now, they count for nothing. We get no credit or anything.
Any questions from the board over here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Selectman, is this, who wrote this one? Is this town council's version, or?
Yes.
Do you know by any chance, off the top of your head, is this similar to the one that Susan Gifford has been working on for
No.
years? This is different.
It's completely different. This is a home rule petition. This
Okay.
is not an
So
article
we-
written by the
So
representative.
we approve this, it goes to town meeting approves this, it still has to go up there and get fought for again anyway.
But it goes in as a home rule petition, which is a whole different animal.
Okay, thank you.
Michael, I see you. Anybody in the audience would like to make comment or add or anything to this?
Has this been discussed with the mobile home park owners in any way?
Yeah, it has no, it does not affect the mobile home park owners, it doesn't affect the units, there's no linkage to any of it. All it is strictly that these units are considered affordable units, but the units themselves have no attachments to it, there's no contract signed, there's nothing, it just, as a particular style of unit and its income numbers, et cetera, with it, that basically allows them to be considered affordable. It doesn't lock them into restriction on sale or anything,
There's no, I was gonna say, there's no asset value restrictions,
nothing.
just income restrictions.
Income and the value of the actual piece of property, which is, I think, under a certain dollar amount that's written on it.
So what's our next move on this?
It has to go through the planning board, just, because
Public
it's,
hearing?
it's a zone, no. Technically, this was your public hearing. Nobody came.
Yeah, we had put this on the agenda previously, I believe, to have a hearing for this.
That's what this is today. This should have been open as a hearing, technically. What you have to do before a town meeting, any of these articles, you have to have, planning board has to have a public hearing.
I'm gonna read that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Okay.
read the public hearing, Article 14 notice. To see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the general court to enact legislation in substantially the following form, provided that the general court may reasonably vary the form and substance of the requested legislation within the scope of the general public objectives of this petition, an act authorizing the Board of Appeals of the town of Wareham to include certain manufactured housing units in the determination of the percentage of low or moderate income housing units in the town of Wareham. Is that enough for the record?
Yes.
Thank you, Michael. Public hearing is open. Everybody satisfied? I already asked that. Anybody in the public have any comments to, for, against, or? Mr. Kane?
We're all set, thank you.
You sure now?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, entertain a motion to close the public hearing? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing's gone. That's it.
You need a,
Then vote on it.
yeah.
Was there a recommendation?
Recommendation from the planning board, we need a
Make a
motion to
that
support.
recommendation be favorable or in support of the article.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. 0.
Thank you.
Actually, next order of business, looks like we're done,
That's it?
huh? Other business,
Stuff on the end, yeah.
Form A. We got a Form A here?
Yep.
Form A for 80 Makepeace, Maple Springs 2. What's this one in here for Walmart?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jim Kane with the Eddie Makepeace Company. With me this evening is Ken Conti from Beals and Thomas. He is prepared for your review and approval this evening, and approval not required plan that creates a 50-acre slice, if you will, on the west side of the middle portion of Maple Springs.
Just the same?
Yeah, those are the same, these two copies.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you a big set if you want a big set to look at.
As you'll note from the plan, it's simply drawing a line to create a 50-acre parcel.
That's parcel H8, H4, I mean. That's the one they're creating.
Yeah, it was a subdivision of previous H2, and we created H3 and H4 by this plan.
Is it clear to you folks what I'm referring to when I say the line? Okay, just go back to the first page if you will.
Approach and show you, that would be great.
The parcel that we proposed to create is the outcome to each map. This line right here that creates the 50-acre slug around engine house, bog, and reservoir. So it creates H4 with this line. David, you square with this? Right there.
Page
Right there, stay right there. This line, right there. Bang.
This one?
Yep.
Now, Mr. Chairman, I just have a question while Mr. Kane's up here. That when you, I don't know, it was a few months ago, probably, whatever, was there not something they came in, they were, remember where the road ended and they were gonna make some land? Was this
We
part
came
of-
in under the Transfer of Development Rights bylaw. And then we left under the Transfer of Development Rights bylaw.
Okay, is this at the end of that, is this beyond?
That's in between, if you will. It's in between.
That's what I was.
Yep. The objective in the creation of this is to allow for the creation of the two large conservation chunks to be connected with this 50-acre parcel. Yes, you do, sir. It's right on the front.
This was not the H58, right there.
It's further north than what you're looking at now.
It needs a notation that it's
Here it
not
is there.
considered as a building lot.
Yep.
If it is not.
So could you, would you just explain then for me, if you don't mind, Mr. Kane, so forming that 50 acres does what?
Creating this 50-acre slice would allow for the connection of the land to the north that is in conservation status with the land to the south, which is in conservation status. It would allow a 50-acre connecting piece to perhaps follow its way into conservation status, thereby creating a nice connected access through.
All right, but the north and south of that, the conservation, there's no building there.
That's correct. It's already in conservation status. Just links the,
Gotcha. Thank you.
What's under conservation status?
what's that?
Which parcels are
The
under?
parcel to the north and to the south of H4 as proposed are in conservation status. And this would allow a nice connecting piece between them.
This one here.
Should that be referenced on the plan as what, since it's the contiguous lot?
No, this is the key map, so what's it show on the next page? What are all the other,
I can't hear you, Charlie.
what are all the other parcels that are shown on the plan?
Well, the parcel to the south of this is owned by the Commonwealth, I believe. The parcel to the north is owned by the Commonwealth. The parcel to the east is retained by the company. So this will allow for a possible connection between the north and south for a complete cohesive conservation outcome.
But all these other parcels that are shown in the plan, they're being created at the same time?
No,
They were previously created back in October. We had a plan in front of the board in which we created all those parcels. So those are
Yeah.
basically what we
So
call
they,
80
so they
81.
exist, they're not
They're-
new.
They're not being created.
the only thing we're here to do this evening is to draw that one line I referred to.
Is there a notation on the plan that H4 and parcel A are not to be considered separate building lots?
Yeah, it should be right on the front page.
Okay, that's fine. That's good,
It identifies the access.
that's fine.
Everything seems to be in order, Charlie?
That's the only concern I had.
So how do you get to these, how do you get to this land then?
You come to the end of Maple Springs Road, and you would park in the area that services the Commonwealth's open space area.
Right.
And then you would walk your way up to land owned by the Commonwealth, and then you could traverse the company's properties, and then make your way to another large chunk of land owned by the Commonwealth.
There's actually no frontage is what I'm getting at. It's kind of landlocked.
Oh, I would argue, well, I think you could make frontage, yes, you could, but we're not seeking that this evening. No, as Charlie said, it's not to be considered for a building lot.
It's
The
it's
desired
essentially-
outcome, go ahead,
It's
Charlie.
essentially between the two pieces that are owned by the Commonwealth. Are they gonna own it, Jim?
They may at some point in the future, Charlie.
Okay.
The objective is to create a parcel that finds its way to conservation status.
So long as it has that notation on it that it's not a separate building lot because it doesn't have any frontage, I think your board is, okay to go ahead and sign it. That's my recommendation. Good.
Where did it say this is not buildable?
If
said
you look at the top of the second page.
Thank you, yeah.
So is this land just gonna be used for recreation, or is it gonna be for fishing and hunting and all that?
It's just upland right now.
Entertain a motion to endorse the Form A.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion been made, second, to endorse the Form A for 80 Makepeace Company.
Sorry, I missed that, I'm sorry, what did you say?
It says motion been made and seconded to endorse Form A. No, it's no opposed. 400. Bit of Mylar there,
Yep.
David?
All three of them.
Michael, you can sign, yeah.
And get you a flat surface to sign on there.
I have
Isn't he really?
Tuesday the 13th, right?
Yes.
Sign it big, doesn't
Different spots on each other.
Anybody who gets paid to be off. You don't. Only Massachusetts and Maine.
Used to be the 30th of May.
Two?
Just one signature, that's it?
That's it?
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night, Joe.
See you now.
See you Thursday.
See Charlie Wednesday.
That's okay.
Thursday afternoon, Jim.
What's that?
Thursday afternoon with Paul. It's on oh yeah, Wednesday night. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, sorry about that.
Are you coming Thursday on the day?
No, I'm gonna go over to the site so we can walk the paving and check that out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The next item on the agenda.
Okay, Walmart, Holden Engineering.
They asked for a continuance on this discussion. They could not make the meeting tonight. So, May 11th is our next meeting.
You there, John? The next order of business was gonna be Walmart, they're gonna continue that till
Till May 11th?
May 11th.
Yeah, I didn't see a letter in the folder, so kind of figured.
Yeah,
Dave saved himself from typing. Griffith Estates, a Form F covenant, that's just to be signed, right?
Yeah, you and John need to sign. I think.
Well, let me back up first of all. The Griffith Estates.
Pardon?
Oh, sorry about that. We just need a couple more signatures on this certificate of approval for the definitive plan for Griffith Estates. So if Mr. Baptiste and Mr. Cronin could sign that, that would complete that. And we also have the,
The Mylar for Ellen Estates next.
well, still with the Griffith Estates, we also have the covenant, the Form F covenant for that, for the board to review, and if you're comfortable with it, decide to make a vote on approving that as well.
Mr. Pichette, is that the same list of covenants that were originally approved for that two-lot subdivision?
Not exactly, because the language, the board, through George Barrett, had made a few changes to it. We updated a couple of the conditions, but generally it's the same thing with just our newer boilerplate language.
Thank you.
Offhand, do you know what the changes were? Dave?
See, I have the old file here.
This is the one up by the cemetery, right in the backside,
Correct.
the two lots. Poor guy was here so many times, I forgot where it was at.
Yeah, those are the two lots that the library people are buying, correct?
The cemetery people.
I'm sorry, cemetery people.
So warrant article,
Just so moving forward. Good.
it's a special town meeting.
So many pages in this file.
Ellen, they just want to have to extend the cemetery, they're not gonna put a road on it.
No, you already have that easement on that front.
Yeah.
The guy wanted to sell the property, he gave that 20-foot road,
20?
and then two lots,
Yeah.
basically gave us. If the town would buy the property, he already had a customer for it. The money's invested by it.
So the town's buying the two lots and the road. That was Alan, not me.
Who's Mikey Slum?
Yeah, I think what I was referring to was initially was the Form C approval was changed or modified. The Form F covenant, this is one we just fashioned after the previous one that was done for Eleanor Estates, because it was generally similar. Different location, yeah.
Okay. So what do you want us to do with it?
If you're comfortable with it, just vote that you're gonna sign it, because we need to get that document signed.
What's the question?
We need a vote to sign this, or sign this form of covenant for, the cemetery lots. Griffith Estates.
Do you want me to read it to you?
No, no.
Do you want me to do that so that you, or do you want to read it yourselves? No, there's 10 covenants. Want me to read them?
You don't have to read it, just pass it
Okay.
down if you want.
I'll just read it
Mr.
to you.
Perry, Mr. Reed, Mr. Perry.
In consideration of said planning board of Wareham and the county of Plymouth approving said plan without requiring a performance bond, the undersigned hereby covenants and agrees that the inhabitants of the town of Wareham as follows. That the undersigned is the owner in fee simple absolute of all the land included in the subdivision, and that there are no mortgages of record or otherwise on any of the land. That the undersigned will not sell or convey any lot in the subdivision or erect or place any permanent building on any lot until the construction of ways and installation of municipal services necessary to adequately serve such lot has been completed in accordance with the covenants, conditions, agreements, terms and provisions as specified in the following. The application for approval of definitive plan Form C. The subdivision control law and the planning board's rules and regulations governing this subdivision. The certificate of approval and the conditions of approval specified herein issued by the planning board dated, would be today's date, I assume?
Yeah, we need a date in there.
Yep. The definitive plan as approved and as qualified by the certificate of approval. Other documents specifying construction to be completed, namely, that's blank. Item 3, that this covenant shall be binding upon the executors, administrators, devisees, heirs, successors, and assigns of the undersigned, and shall constitute a covenant running with the land included in the subdivision, and shall operate as restrictions upon the land. 4, that particular lots within the subdivision shall be released from the foregoing by the planning board in enumerating the specific lots to be released. 5, that nothing herein shall be deemed to prohibit a conveyance by a single deed subject to this covenant of either the entire parcel of land shown on the subdivision plan or of all lots not previously released by the planning board. 6, that the undersigned agrees to record this covenant with the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds forthwith, or to pay the necessary recording fee to the said planning board in the event of the planning board shall record this agreement. Reference to this covenant shall be entered upon the definitive subdivision plan as approved. 7, a deed of any part of the subdivision in violation of the covenant shall be voidable by the grantee prior to the release of the covenant, but not later than 3 years from the date of such deed as provided in section 81-U, chapter 41, MGL. 8, that this covenant shall be executed before endorsement of approval of the definitive plan by the planning board and shall take effect upon the endorsement of approval. 9, upon final completion of the construction of ways and installation of municipal services as specified herein on or before, needs to be a date and put in place. The planning board shall release this covenant by an appropriate instrument duly acknowledged. Failure to complete construction and installation within the time specified herein or such later date as may be specified by vote of the planning board with a written concurrence of the applicant shall result in automatic rescission of the approval of the plan. Upon performance of this covenant, with respect to any lot, the planning board may release such lot from this covenant by an appropriate instrument duly recorded. 10, nothing herein shall prohibit the applicant from varying the method of securing the construction of ways and installation of municipal services from time to time, from securing by one or in part by one and in part by another, of the methods described in MGL Chapter 41, Section 81-U, as long as such security is sufficient in the opinion of the planning board to secure performance of the construction and installation.
Can we get the dates in there?
Yes. Are there preferred dates? I'm gonna give this back to David so he can do that with you, and
And is the covenant referenced in the plan that we're signing?
Well, you're not signing this plan tonight. We're just getting this covenant established, and once the covenant's established, then the plan will come back for you to sign.
Okay.
Let the minutes show that it's 8:06 and Mr. Barrett is present.
Didn't recognize
Where'd
that
everybody
guy.
go?
Throw him out. We denied it.
So the certificate of approval and conditions issued by the planning board was dated March 23rd, 2015, so that date would go in there.
Okay. Want to write it in?
Actually, that would be tonight's date, because today was the final day that everybody signed it, so I think we would use tonight's date. Would you say, since we finally got the approval?
Okay.
So we can put today's date up in there.
What are you doing, George?
Mr. Rowley,
With these different
in essence,
covenant pieces that are here, is this gonna affect at all where the town is gonna be buying the property?
well, that's the question I was just about to ask. It's kind of a moot point, because if this all gets approved by town meeting and they buy that piece of land, subdivision
plan
goes
is
away.
junk,
That's what I
right.
mean, so that, you know.
Well, if the town doesn't approve it and you don't sign it, then he's left with nothing.
Well,
That's it.
that was,
Yeah, he's preparing to go with either way. If the
Right.
town is in a position to buy it, fine. If not, he's not set back in.
So we're gonna put this date
Just wanna make sure.
as the
So
approval.
it basically
by
is
the
a
planning
safety
board.
parachute for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those made sense, Mr. Rowley?
Excuse me? Oh, yeah.
So that's gonna be the
There was a blank, I think, on the second sheet for putting in a date for if you didn't get the construction done by a certain time. Typically, it's been a 2-year period.
Yeah. Why was the 3-year period in there?
It can be anything you want.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be 2.
Normally we put 2.
That's
Well, I
in
think
my
they
recollection.
initially requested 3, and I mentioned to them that the planning board typically would only do 2, and they were fine with that.
so make it 2.
And we adopted making a specific date, not just 2 years. So,
Okay,
putting a specific date in. Generally 2 years past the point of appeal.
Interesting.
So let's see, today's the 14th.
So should we make it
So-
April 13th, 2000?
We'll make it you gotta make it beyond the appeal date,
Yeah,
so let's
20 days out.
pick a month from
Okay.
today, so May.
You can make it May 1st, 2017. That will give them, that won't give them enough
that
time.
won't give them, make it June 1st, 2 years old, that gives them,
All right, what are we doing? June 1st?
yeah.
2017.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you have all your hearings this evening?
No.
One
The,
year they all left.
Bay Point's gone to, May 11th, continued public hearing. They didn't wanna go with 4 people.
So, we're gonna accept this before they sign it? Is that-
Well, somebody has to sign it first, so if we sign it and they don't sign it, then it's not valid. If they sign it and we don't sign it, it's not valid. So
Well,
both
whatever.
parties have to sign, so however way you guys think it should be handled.
I think if he signs it and we get it along with the plan, we're gonna sign the plan too. So, once we get this, we can sign this and the plan.
Sounds reasonable.
Really?
For which one?
Griffith Estates.
It's the Form F covenant.
I don't think he's gonna spend money doing a plan if he's gonna sell it to the town.
You sort of did the reverse on the Eleanor Estates. The covenant was signed by both parties, and now they just submitted the Mylar for us to sign on that one. So that's why I was sort of following that same pattern, but whatever way you guys want to do it, it doesn't really matter, I guess.
I don't have a problem either way, whatever you want to do. We're all here.
You'll be witnessing the signatures, correct, Mr. Bichette?
Well, if it's done at a meeting, then the signatures will be witnessed. You talking about from you or from
No,
them?
from them, I mean, they'll come to your office to get the documents, correct? And you require them to sign it in your presence so that you could have copies or whatever for the record?
I ultimately get a copy of the signed documents back, but they don't have to do it in front of me.
No.
They'd have to have it notarized, though.
Oh, okay. So,
Have they got the original plan, David? The Mylar?
They don't have their Mylar submitted yet for Griffith. We have the one for Eleanor Estates to sign tonight.
Did Mary Ann say that the 20-day appeal period's up? Has she signed it?
For which one?
Either one of them?
Well, the Griffith Estates one, we just finished signing the approval, so it has not been
Okay, so the 20 days still runs on that one?
correct.
Yeah.
This other one, the 20 days has been elapsed, although I don't have something in writing per se from Mary Ann.
Well, she's supposed to sign the plan. There's supposed to be a blank on that plan that she signs.
Okay, you just see if they've already had her do that. No, not as of yet.
Okay, well, you can't sign it until she does.
Okay.
I believe she's out till the 21st.
Oh, the month?
Yes.
Well, she has an assistant.
You could, I suppose you could sign it and then just hold on to it until she signs it, but typically she's supposed to sign it first, certifying the 20-day appeal period has elapsed and there's been no appeal.
Her
Okay.
assistant can sign it?
I'm not sure. She sent a note out that if you need anything done, that
Because if,
it had to be done before she went away.
if the process is normally that she would sign it and then we would sign it, Mr. Barrett or I could go by the office and sign it after the fact, if her assistant can sign it for the town.
Yeah, if someone in the office can document the appeal period is passed.
I mean, I'll go by if you need me, Mr. Bichette, or,
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll take it down to them tomorrow, get this verified, and then if it's straight, call you guys.
yeah, one of
as
us
long
will
as
come
you
by.
Make a vote to kind of go in that direction with it.
Okay. Okay, so,
Michael, I had a question on the signatures that maybe we could clear up so I don't have to keep wondering. Did the board, to anyone's knowledge, ever take a vote to authorize one or another person to sign definitive plans on behalf of the board? I know on a Form A plan you have, but the definitive plan too?
I don't know if there was a differentiation made there. I think both Michael and myself are on record with the Registry of Deeds of being able to sign plans. I don't know if they specified all plans or just.
I know for 81 or Form A plans, it's specific in that paragraph. I'm a little less clear as to whether or not you can do it as an individual on a definitive, because typically it takes a majority vote of the board in order to approve it. I'm unclear on it because it appears to be conflicting language in another section of the regulation, not the local regulation, the state regulation. Any definitives I've seen, it's always been a majority of the board that has to sign the plans, and that way you know that it's been approved by not just one person, but the whole board. Makes no difference to me.
Or at
It was
least
just
4
one-
out of 5.
Excuse me?
At least 4 out of 5.
Yeah, no, or a majority. With a definitive plan, it can be 3-2-0. But I just wasn't aware of it and was just curious, that's all.
Well, once the clerk signs it, I can let all the members know, and then maybe it makes sense for the definitives to get a majority on all these plans. I think that's a good idea.
I believe that's what we did in the past.
Yeah, whenever there's been any doubt, we've always tried to have everyone
Yes,
sign.
it's probably good practice anyway, just so you get it on record.
So getting back to the Griffith Estates, we're gonna hold off on the planning board signing that covenant until they come in with the appeal, and a Mylar stating that that's all been done. Is that how you wanna do it?
Is that the consensus of the board?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
That looks like about it for a wrap, huh? Anything else?
Did every board member receive a letter from Matthew and Matthew, attorneys and counsel at law?
Yeah, what was that?
That was in reference to an applicant we sat with one of our last meetings, Allied Venture LLC and Ryan Correa,
Yeah.
in reference to the 122 unit senior living complex to be constructed at 650 Main Street. It's just a letter from the attorneys representing the seller of the property that they've withdrawn, or the extension has expired, and that this is no longer a viable project.
Okay.
So the owner of the property is stating.
What was the date you said you continued Bay Point to?
11th.
7 o'clock.
May 11th?
Yep. And Walmart also is pushed out to the 11th also, George.
Was this their request to,
Request letter, nobody showed up. Dave represented them on that, said they weren't showing.
What do they want?
Under both their planning and zoning approvals, there's some conditioning that certain things have to be completed before they get their certificate of occupancy, and there's some issues with some gas lines and them not being able to get the gas line companies to do what's necessary at this point. So they wanted to speak to both boards about the timing of their certificate of occupancies in relation to getting this piece of work done. Basically a discussion, that's what they're asking.
I think it's kind of a contingency because they're not, they're at least another month out. The work might get done, but they want to be prepared if it's not.
They're still scheduling for July opening?
I think they're, what they say, June 13th, I think, or
Yeah, the dates, I keep hearing different dates. Nobody's come into the office and said to me specifically a date, so I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because I know 28, they're starting to do a lot of work on 28 all of a sudden in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's
That's a
for the
different project.
repaving and recycling and repaving everything from the Middleborough line down, I think.
Yeah, it's
I
not
don't
that,
think that's
different
anything to do
project.
with Walmart.
Well, in the front there, they're gonna dig all that up, all right?
That's separate. No, the project with the state is not doing anything in that section.
it's a grind and repave
Yeah.
from the Walmart site to Middleborough.
What are they
Repairing
doing?
basins.
What are they doing to the bridge in West Ramshaw?
I think they're just gonna repair the drainage.
Okay,
I think so.
they get them orange barrels all the way up.
Oh, I know.
Is that,
That
Hey,
Walmart
no.
thing, though, they've got some site work they've still gotta complete.
mhm.
The storm drainage isn't 100% yet.
Yeah.
They gotta put the top on the paving. They got all the landscaping to do, so just be aware of that.
Any other business?
While we have our liaison select person and chairman and our engineer, Mr. Rowley, someone asked me a question and it kind of threw me. And then I heard you say something this evening about the dam. Over at the Tremont Nail, what's the status with that
Can't
project?
discuss it right now.
I'm sorry?
It's basically a legal issue. I can't discuss it right now.
A legal issue.
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's not, no problem.
It's under executive session, John, that's why.
That's fine. And I had another question, I'll catch you later. Okay.
there's no other business, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Yes. Motion made and seconded to adjourn. Any discussion? George, sorry.
You guys won't want me to come anymore, you're out of here at 8:20.
All in favor?
Would have been a lot longer if you had been here.
The room was full. It was full of neighbors.